Hi guys, welcome back to Top Listen for You. Dear friends, as you know, we are discussing about the blood supply of the pelvis, right? So in the previous lecture I have recorded about the pelvis of the female, the blood supply of the pelvis of female, and now we are discussing about the blood supply of the pelvis of the male, right? One thing I should tell you that friends, it's an additional lecture. As you know, I have written that I'm discussing about the blood supply of the lower limbs, right? So previously I discussed that abdominal aorta gives off two branches, the right common iliac artery and the left common iliac artery. So it was also important that I should discuss, as I'm discussing about the branches of external iliac artery, so I should discuss about the branches of internal iliac artery too. So while discussing that, we came to know that this internal iliac artery gives off many branches to the pelvis of the female and of the male also. Now we are as a bi-lecture about the lower limbs. We are also discussing about the branches of the iliac arteries in the pelvic region also. So I will discuss about the branches of the external iliac artery in detail in the next coming lectures. Now in previous lecture, as you can see, I have written here and I have discussed about 10 arteries, 10 branches about the blood supply of the pelvis of the female. Now here you can see it's a male standing in front of you, and we have made a section, right, a mid-sagittal section, and we are looking at the pelvis of the male. Now we are discussing about the branches of the internal iliac artery in the pelvis of the male. Friends, one thing which I will mention right now here, if you are watching this lecture for the first time, go and watch my lectures about this artery, the abdominal aorta, the right and left common iliac arteries in the previous lectures, and the branches of internal iliac artery in case of female pelvis. I have recorded already. You can watch those lectures, right? Now I'm discussing about the branches of internal iliac artery in male, right? So the details about the internal and external iliac artery I have already given in the previous lectures. You can watch them there. Now let's discuss about the branches of anterior trunk branches of anterior trunk of internal iliac artery in male. Right? And in case of female, I'm again telling you that I have discussed about abdominal aorta in a separate lecture. I have discussed about the right and left common iliac arteries in separate lecture. I have discussed about the internal iliac artery and external iliac artery in separate lectures, and I have recorded about the branches of this internal iliac artery. As you can see, it gives off a posterior trunk and an anterior trunk. I have also discussed it in previous lecture. You can watch them. But here we are just discussing about the branches of anterior trunk of this internal iliac artery in males. Let's focus on our lecture. The first branch that arises from this is our internal iliac artery, right? Let's see. This is our abdominal aorta, right? Let me mention it here. This is abdominal aorta, right? This is our right common iliac artery, and this is our left common iliac artery, right? Okay, this common iliac artery gives off external iliac artery and internal iliac artery. So this will be our external iliac artery, right? And this one is our internal iliac artery. I have recorded about them. You can watch those lectures. Now this internal iliac artery, you can see when it comes further forward, it gives off an anterior trunk and posterior trunk, right? So this is the posterior trunk, this is the anterior trunk. So this anterior trunk gives off about 10 branches, we will see now, and this posterior trunk gives off 3 branches, we will record about them also. So the first branch which arises from this anterior trunk of internal iliac artery is the obturator artery. This one is called the obturator artery, right? Let me write it here. Obturator artery, and I will tell you about the blood supply of this artery, that which part of this pelvis is supplied by this artery. So we said that this artery is responsible to supply blood to obturator muscle. Obturator muscle. This artery supplies blood to obturator muscle, right? The next artery which arises from this anterior trunk is this one, and this one is called the, this is called the umbilical artery. Umbilical artery. So you can see that this umbilical artery, when it goes forward, it gives off the third branch of this artery, and this is called the superior vesicle artery, right? Then there is the third artery, that is the superior vesicle artery. Superior vesicle artery, right friends? Superior vesicle artery. Right, let's see. This umbilical artery is responsible to supply blood to the bladder. You can see as it is moving forward, it gives off superior vesicle artery. So this superior vesicle artery is responsible to supply blood to the superior portion of this urinary bladder. So this is our urinary bladder, right friends? Okay, now look. This umbilical artery gives branch to the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. It is also responsible to give branches to the ductus deferens in males, right? To ductus deferens in males. In case of females, I have discussed it separately. You can watch those lectures. The superior vesicle artery is responsible to supply blood to the superior portions of the urinary bladder, and those 2 ureters which come to the urinary bladder, it also gives us small branches to those ureters also, right? So superior vesicle artery is responsible to supply blood to the urinary bladder, okay, and ureters also, right? Then there is the fourth branch which arises from this anterior trunk of this internal iliac artery, right? This is our fourth branch. Look here. This fourth branch is called the inferior vesicle artery, as it is going to the inferior portions of this urinary bladder, right? This is called inferior vesicle artery, the fourth artery in the pelvis of male, inferior vesicle artery, and this artery is responsible to supply blood to the vesicle which is called the urinary bladder, okay. Then in case of males, there are seminal vesicles here, right? Here are seminal vesicles, and moving forward, here is our prostate, right? So it also gives branches to seminal vesicles and to prostate in case of males. So if you go and watch the lecture regarding the pelvis of the female, you can differentiate between them, that in case of male it's supplying to prostate and seminal vesicles, but in case of female there are not prostate, there is no seminal vesicle, right? Then there is the fifth branch which arises from this anterior trunk, this one. Look, this is called the middle rectal artery, as this is the rectum, right? So this is called the middle rectal artery. Middle rectal artery, right? So this middle rectal artery is responsible to supply blood. Again, I will say that it gives off branches to the middle rectum, and a small branches from it goes to the seminal vesicles also. So it also gives branches to the rectum. It supplies blood to rectum, to seminal vesicles, right, and also to prostate. Right. If I stand like this, you will see it clearly. I'm sorry if you have some. Next, number 6th branch, which arises from this anterior trunk. Here we have our 6th artery, and this artery is called the inferior gluteal artery, right? This is our inferior gluteal artery, and this artery is responsible to supply blood to the gluteal muscle. Right, gluteal muscle. Then there is the 7th branch of this anterior trunk. In case of males, this one, and this one is called the internal pudendal artery. This is called the internal pudendal artery, and this artery gives many branches and it supplies many viscera of this human male pelvis, and those branches are, it supplies blood to the sciatic nerve. I'm writing here, it supplies blood to the sciatic nerve. It is also responsible to supply blood to the perineal muscles. And it is also responsible to supply blood to urethra in case of males, and it is also responsible to supply blood to scrotum, right? And it also gives a branch to the bulb of penis, right? So it's a big artery. You can see internal pudendal artery, look at its branches, right? So its branches going to the penis, going to the scrotum, right, and going to the perineal muscles here, and some branches also it goes to the, here is our urethra, right? This is our urethra, so it gives off some branches also to urethra, right? So this was our 7th branch of this anterior trunk of internal iliac artery. Then the 8th branch, which arises from this artery, is the inferior rectal artery. Inferior rectal artery, right, friends? And this artery is responsible to supply blood to the rectum, right? So this is our inferior rectal artery. So it supplies blood to the rectum, right? Then the 9th branch, which arises from this anterior trunk, is the scrotal arteries. Scrotal arteries. And scrotal arteries are responsible to supply blood to the scrotum. This is our 9th branch. Look. Okay, so this is responsible to supply blood to the scrotum. Okay, dear friends, and the 10th branch, which is responsible to supply, here, this is our 10th branch, the dorsal penis artery, and it is going to the dorsal surface of the penis, right? So this is called dorsal artery of penis, right? And it is responsible to supply blood to the head of the penis. This is the head of the penis, and to the dorsum of, or we can say the body of the penis, or the penis, right? So it is responsible to supply blood to the to which areas? I'm writing it here. It is responsible to supply blood to the head of the penis, right, and to the penis also. Okay, so these two regions are supplied by the dorsal artery of the penis. Right, friends, so these were the 10 arteries which I have mentioned here, and numerically I have told you, I have discussed all of them, and those areas of the male pelvis which they are responsible to supply blood. Okay, now in the next lecture I will discuss about the branches of this posterior trunk of the internal iliac artery in case of males, and in case of females also the branches of the posterior trunk of internal iliac artery. So be with us, don't go anywhere. And dear friends, if this lecture helped you, so please subscribe our channel, share the lectures with your friends also. Thank you so much. Goodbye.